The Sacramento Kings have lost their last 15 games in a row. And if you're a Sacramento Kings fan, this is the best you should feel about them in the last 15 to 20 plus years, especially since that last Lakers matchup in the Western Conference Finals. Because I call it incompetence, but their incompetence has led them to a top three pick next year. And it's looking like it's going to be really one or two. And um, this draft is so loaded coming up. I really don't think they can miss this year. Now, if they miss, it would not surprise me if they somehow get the number one pick and they pick the wrong guy. But even if they do pick the wrong guy, this draft is so loaded you really can't miss. And it's no secret this owner, this franchise is very incompetent, but their incompetence has led them to the number 1 to 2 pick. Um, and it was done in such ways like, if you think they planned this out, this is not what they planned. But the owner is just so stupid. They really thought, and they're tanking ethically, I might say, and it's not on purpose because you see the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz have 19 wins, whereas the Kings only have 12. They're 12-45. Utah Jazz are just sitting their star players in the fourth. The Kings are not doing that. Levine is out with the season-ending surgery. Sabonis is out. Russell Westbrook, unfortunately, is not Russell Westbrook anymore, and they just can't buy one. And you look at this franchise. This franchise drafted Tyrese Halliburton. He was the most loved player in Sacramento Kings history in my entire lifetime, more than Bibby, more than Stojakovic, more than De'Aaron Fox. They loved this guy. They felt like they finally had their guy. His jersey was selling out like crazy. He was beloved. Now, were the results there? No. But he was still hooping, and they trade him for Domantas Sabonis. Why, you might ask? They felt like they can't do a two-guard lineup, so they had to pick between him and Fox, and they picked Fox, which made no sense because put Halliburton as the point, put Fox as the shooting guard who can facilitate, and find your center. There's no way you can't convince me Halliburton and Fox with a center or some good pieces around them would not be at least competing year in, year out for the playoffs. But okay, fine. You made that mistake. Let's go back to just the drafting itself. I mean, Luka Doncic is available, but you don't like him. You have a personal gripe. So who do you get? You get Marvin Bagley the third. And it's just like, not to disrespect Marvin Bagley, he's nowhere, should not be mentioned in the same sentence as Luka Doncic. Why didn't you draft Luka, you might ask? Because of a personal gripe. Oh, and then you give up De'Aaron Fox. You give up De'Aaron Fox because you see the Chicago Bulls doing nothing in the Eastern Conference, and you think, you know what? Let's bring them to a much harder, much more loaded Western Conference and see how they do. So you get Zach LaVine, you get DeMar DeRozan, you have Sabonis, and you think you don't need Vucevic. Let's see how this team does in the West. This is how this team does in the West. Meanwhile, the Spurs are thinking the heavens that De'Aaron Fox landed in their lap for a bag of peanuts. Just terrible, terrible ownership, terrible management, but somehow, some way, it's gonna get you a bona fide stud. Now, just don't go set. If your plan is really, hey, we got Levine, we got DeRozan, we got Sabonis, let's go center. I think it's time to have a serious conversation about if Vivek Rondev, the owner, should be put in a mental asylum.